fellow utensil users of the world. I hope you're all having a happy and healthy day today. I am pretty sick, so if you hear me coughing or just sounding awful in general, I do have strep again if you have not heard. So I am on round 3 of the antibiotics and I have round 4 ready to go in case I need it. My fingers are crossed that I do not need it. At any rate, I am here today because I wanted to get this video up for a long time now. First, I wanted to give a big shout out to Martha Pait, and I apologize if I'm pronouncing your name incorrectly. Please let me know if I am. I just wanted to give Martha the shout out for the recommendation for reviewing the Urban Decay Spectrum Palette. And I have had this for a few weeks. And I have had a little bit of a problem with this palette, and I will get into that. But I did want to do a review on this palette and swatching, and it will actually be a double swatching, and I will get into that too. So I have both arms prepared with glitter glue, so I can show you these in a minute. As you can see, the packaging is extremely colorful with a holographic rainbow Urban Decay Urban Spectrum eyeshadow palette in beautiful foil on the cardboard, and then the back is pretty colorful as well. However, when you open up the palette, and you can see mine is grungy because I have been using it to death trying to figure out what to do with this, you can see the shadows themselves aren't incredibly bright. Some of them are bright, but I do feel that these are kind of the typical Urban Decay kind of colors that you would find if you were to pull out one or two of your other Urban Decay palettes. I know quite a few of these shades are exclusive to this palette or like repeats from past palettes, but I do feel like most of these colors are just kind of tweaks on colors that are pretty staple in Urban Decay palettes and Urban Decay singles that you can pick up or probably already have. Really, I only have one criterion for a good eyeshadow palette, and that is that it can stand on its own. Meaning you can use this palette for a complete eye look and preferably more than one. And for quite a while, I was struggling to find even one eye look that was achievable with this palette. For me, the highlight shade here was not light enough on my skin to be a highlight shade. There's quite a few people who are fairer than I am, so I would imagine it would be quite a bit darker on them. So I struggled with this for a while. So an example of an eyeshadow palette that I do feel stands on its own is the Urban Decay XX Vice Reloaded palette, which is my giveaway item. And just as another reminder, if you have not subscribed, please subscribe because we are 1 week until March, and I am kind of a hard ass on this front, that if I do not have 111 subscribers by March, and we're only like 15 people off right now, but I am not going to give this away unless I reach the requisite number of subscribers. So please subscribe if you have not. Please tell your friends to subscribe, whoever you can get to subscribe, because I have this to give away, brand new, not even taken out of the Ulta shipping box, ready to go. I have a NARS Multiple in Violet Atom, which is really hard to come by, and I have a Star Powder by Makeup Forever at the ready to go. At any rate, these items are sitting in the boxes waiting for me to get to 111 subscribers so I can start the giveaway process. But I did want to mention that this is an example of a standalone palette. All the mattes are skin tone shades, so depending on, if you're lighter or medium or darker, you can use those shades as transition shades or in your crease or wherever you would like. This also has quite a few highlight shades. You can use this, you can use this, you can use this. There are a lot of kind of more neutral colors that you can make a neutral look. You can make this green look. You can make a purple and pink look. There's a lot of options in this palette. It does stand alone. There's a lot of things you can put together with this. If you're just starting out with makeup, this is a fantastic palette. If you're a seasoned makeup user or a pro, this is still a great palette. I also wanted quickly to give yet another shout out to Jamie Garrettson. And again, please correct me if I'm pronouncing your names wrong. I want to get to know you guys, and your names are important, obviously. Jamie was looking for a lip gloss that was not like the Urban Decay Revolution high color lip glosses. And I did find this little sample in my stockpile of samples, which I've got way too many. So I have been giving this a try for maybe about a week now. And the first time I tried it, I put it on and I'm thinking, oh, it's not so bad. I don't really understand. Famous last words. Literally within 10 minutes, I had my own hair, cat hair, lint, you name it. All kinds of grossies stuck to my lips. And I had somehow the lip gloss all over my face. So I agree, this guy is not a winner. But I did find you one recommendation, and that is the NARS lip glosses. This is what I have on today. This is in color Easy Lover, and it is a super sheer, I believe. So they have all kinds of colors. They have all kinds of opacities. They've got a wide range of lip glosses. This is not sticky or gluey like the Urban Decay glosses, and I really am enjoying this lip gloss. I did order a whole bunch of other lip glosses, and I'm really hoping their shipment coincides with my defeat of this strep. I did want to recommend this. I know NARS gets a bad rap for being kind of hella expensive, but I did want to mention that this was $26, and the Urban Decay lip glosses are $22. And considering that this does not give you that everything sticks to it, it goes all over the place feeling, I think that extra $4 is well spent. That is my first recommendation to you. I do have more on the way, and I hope to do a more comprehensive list of non-sticky, non-gluey winning lip glosses in the future. So stay tuned for that as well. So on to the topic for today, which is the Urban Decay Urban Spectrum Eyeshadow Palette. This is what the outside of the box looks like. On the back, you have your shades, and they are arranged in rows of 3 horizontally according to color group. You have your gold, browns, your pinks, your purples, your blues, and your greens. And I know that one looks kind of blue. That is a total of 15 eyeshadows. Each pan in here contains 0.05 ounces of eyeshadow. Each eyeshadow is a full-size Urban Decay eyeshadow. This retails for $55, and it is currently exclusive at Sephora. So I hope this video also helps you decide if this is a palette you want to buy while it is still available, because I have a feeling it will not be available much longer. When I did get it at first, I was kind of astounded by the size of the box. As you can see, it's about as big as my hand, and I have pretty small hands. I thought it was going to be bigger based on pictures I had seen online, but despite the size of the palette itself, the pans are full size. And I know the price at $55 seems like a lot, but if you do the math, that would almost buy you 3 Urban Decay singles. So getting 15 eyeshadows for the price of almost 3 isn't bad. If you were to buy all of these shadows individually, it would cost you $285. So that's outrageous. $55 doesn't seem so bad in comparison to that price. That actually is a $230 savings. And 15 times the 0.05 in each pan does come out to be 3/4 of an ounce total of eyeshadow. So there is quite a lot of product in this palette. So when you pull the palette out of the box, it comes with the little foam cover for the Urban Decay logo. You have this kind of rubberized box and this jewel inlaid Urban Decay logo. The sides are filigree cutout, and it opens like a jewelry box. I guess you can use it as a jewelry box. And the lid is a mirror. Mine's grungy, as you can see. And then what you can do is, see, there's this little nick here. You can take your nail or something and just pull that out like that. And then inside is shallow, maybe ½ an inch, but it is a velour lined box. So I guess if you were to finish the eyeshadows themselves, you could hypothetically use this with the mirror and the bottom and have yourself a jewelry box. Now, I've also heard people say that this is inconvenient because of the two-part design, and I agree that it is kind of a pain. I think mostly because the mirror is separate altogether and there's no way for that to just prop up like on the Vice Reloaded palette, which I really like the stand-up mirror. People are also saying if you were to take this for travel, it'd be a mess because the top just pops off. The top does just pop off, but there is, believe it or not, a simple solution, which is to take an elastic, a hair tie, and just put it on the box like that. That will keep everything closed. And I promise you that's not going anywhere. So talking about the palette itself, the bulk is made in the USA, assembled in Dominican Republic, which seems to be standard for Urban Decay these days. There are quite a few eyeshadows in this collection that are not in the Urban Decay permanent line. The first one we have that is not permanent is Protest, which is this green at the top. And then next to that, this color Junkie, which is a teal with some kind of, it looks like gold glitter in there. Next is Madness, which is this really pretty kind of metallic-y blue. Then Prank is also a new one, which is supposedly a matte shadow, but it has pearl in it, so I don't really consider that matte, so there are no matte eyeshadows in this palette. Flashback, which is this beautiful, beautiful purple color. Voodoo, it's like a blackish purple duochrome glitter shift kind of color. Also have Flatline, which is not in the Urban Decay permanent collection, and that is their quote-unquote highlight shade, which yeah. The next one is Backlash, which is this fuchsia pink color. And again, a lot of these colors just seem like reformulations of other very, very similar colors to me. The next one is Daybreak, which is this gold, and that is actually one of my favorite shadows in this palette. And then there are two more that are exclusive to this palette. Burn, it's like a dark brownish golden color. And then finally West, which is that dark brown metallic-y shimmer. So all in all, there are 11 colors in this palette that are not in the Urban Decay permanent line. So if you keep that in mind as well, I think this is a pretty good deal. Now, regarding the colors themselves, using this palette as you would any other palette, just get out your brush and use it. I think this is a perfect palette for anyone who is interested in getting into more colorful shadows but doesn't want to go the electric pressed pigment route where the colors are in your face bright. This is a great way to start out with brighter colors, and especially for people who love jewel tones. These are all jewel tony colors. I had kind of a love-hate relationship with this palette. I really kind of expected more from it, but I did find a way to make this a standalone palette and to make it the palette that I thought it would be. So what I'm going to do for you right now is swatch the colors like this in their color rows on this arm, and I'll go through the names again as I'm doing so, and then I'll hold them all up at the end again. Then I'm going to take a 180 and do something completely out of the blue. All right, so first we have Protest, which is this forest green color. Then we have Junkie, which is that teal with gold glitter in there. And then we have Deep End, which is a more teal color. And it just looks like maybe a little metallic shift in there. So I do apologize, these are upside down. So from the top we have Deep End, then we have Junkie, and then Protest. So that is the row of greens. So on to the blues, we have first Madness, which is kind of a cerulean kind of blue with different color shimmers in there. You can see. And then Evidence, which is just a very dark blue. And then finally Prank, which is their so-called matte with pearl. I will leave the descriptions of these colors below in the description bar because we all know I'm not the best at giving colors descriptions. Now I also wanted to mention that these colors are very pigmented. They are very bright. They are high quality eyeshadows. They do have quite a lot of fallout, and that is another thing I will come back around to. At any rate, going on to the blue row. At the top there is the darkest one, which is Prank. And then the one below that, it almost has a purple to it, and that is called Evidence. And then the lighter blue is called Madness. So I'm going to use this side of my arm now for the rest so you can see. We're starting with the purple row. This one is Omen, which is kind of a duochrome, light purple periwinkle color. Then there is Flashback, which is like a straight up purple with some kind of glitter in there. And then Voodoo, which is a much more heavily glittered, almost blue kind of purple. Some of the shades are kind of splotchy and have a lot of fallout, as you can see on this side. So I don't know, I had a tough time with this palette at first. It's kind of like the James Joyce or Michel Foucault of eyeshadow palettes. Ridiculous analogy, I realize, but I had a lot of trouble with this at first. Again, to go through the purple row, the light purple at the top is Omen, and then the middle is Flashback, and then the darkest one is called Voodoo. And you can see it has so much fallout because just swatching these, I'm getting fallout onto my other shades. Now going on to the pink row, we have Flatline, which is their quote unquote highlight shade. It's basically a light pink. See how much fallout I'm getting from that? And that's that color. It's deceiving. And then we have Bordello next to that, and that's like a reddish pink. And then finally Backlash, which is that fuchsia magenta kind of pink. One, two. These are a little smoother. No, I guess that row is better than the row ahead of it. So those are your pinks. Again, from the top is Flatline, which is that rosy white pink. Underneath that, which is kind of like a brownish, reddish pink, is Bordello. Underneath that is Backlash, which is like a fuchsia magenta kind of pink. All right, on to the last row, which is the browns. First, we have Daybreak, which is just a beautiful, really, really nice gold. I like this one a lot. So that's called Daybreak. Next, we have Burn, which is a darker brown sandy. You can see it's got a little mauve kind of tone to it. And then finally West, which is the dark brown. See how pretty that gold is? And that's what I have on my eyes today. That is Daybreak. And this row is a little smoother also. It still has fallout. And oh, that one had a lot of fallout. So again, the browns, we have Daybreak, which is the lightest, Burn, which is kind of that middle tone brown, and then West, which is the dark brown. So just to show you again the colors that are not in the Urban Decay permanent line, Protest, which is that green, Junkie, which is the one right above that, Madness, which is this blue right here, Prank, which is the dark blue, Flashback, which is that middle purple, Voodoo, which is that dark bluish blackish purple, Flatline, which is that pinkish highlight shade as they call it, Backlash, which is that fuchsia magenta color. I think all the browns, so this whole row, those are all new as well, meaning not in the permanent collection. I want to just show you this quick under the light so you can see all the colors. So I know I did the first two rows backwards. So starting from that green and then from the lightest blue. So that's the blues and greens. And then flipping over, we've got the row of purple, which I did in the order of the palette from left to right. Then the pinks, and then finally the browns. So you can see all those colors together. You do get quite a wide array of colors in this palette. But again, my standard for an eyeshadow palette is that you can use it on its own. And I will show you how I have figured that out and why I call this my James Joyce or Michel Foucault of the eyeshadow palettes. So on this arm, we're going to do a little tricky trick. That is that I have found that these colors work the best when they are used wet. And I'm not usually one to use eyeshadow colors wet. But these I was having such trouble with trying to figure them out, how I could come up with any cohesive look at all. And the way I found that is to make them wet and use them that way. I will show you the swatches of these wet and compare the two. So in addition to being a palette for people who are looking for jewel tones, and in addition to being a good palette for somebody who is just starting to dip their toes into using brighter colors, I found that this palette works wonderfully with water. So if you have not experimented with wet eyeshadows, this is a great palette to do that with. Luckily today I did get in my new bottle of MAC Fix Plus because I was out. It was like a drought around here. In the interim, I have been practicing with this palette with just water. So it does work that way as well. You can really get away more or less with using only a couple of brushes. And the brushes I would recommend you use with this palette are just a generic angled brush, so you can get like the side like this. And then this is just an Ulta crease brush, just a round utility brush. And then I also have a Sigma domed utility E34 brush, which is just a little bit smaller, more compact than that one. And what I'm going to do is just take MAC Fix Plus. It's better to do this flat so you don't cross over into other shades, and put a little bit on each shade. You don't need a lot. You can see how it's wet there. And then I'm going to take a brush and I'm going to swatch them for you wet on this arm. All right, so this is Deep End. And see how differently they come out? It really brings out the metallic in them. I just feel that these are like the perfect shadows to use wet. So you can compare, see how much more pigmented it looks. You don't get the streaky, you don't get the fallout. I just think it's perfect for this palette. The next shade we have is Junkie. See how beautifully those go on? Oh, I can't even tell you how happy I am that I've made this discovery. Although it's probably not my discovery because people use wet eyeshadow all the time. It's just beautiful. With Protest, which is the green, you should be able to see a total difference. And actually, when this dries down, it becomes much lighter than this. So those are the comparisons. I'll show you again under the big light so you can see better. And then I'm just going to do the same thing with the rest of them, and I'm going to swatch them, and I'll be back so I don't waste a ton of your time. I just had to show you something halfway through, and that is the color evidence, which is right here. You can see just how beautifully that color comes out with water compared to this color here. So that versus that. It seems with these colors, it just brings more of the color and the undertones and whatever is in them out than if you were to apply them dry. And I really think that that's the way to use this palette. So I have swatched them all. You can see the comparison. Oh, I guess I did this wrong. The top three are the greens, and then the next three are the blues, and then here are your purples. You would not even know those were the same colors. Then here you have your pinks, but that is where that highlight shade you can use as a highlight shade. See how much it lightens up when you use it with the water or Fix Plus or whatever you're using? I feel like if you use these shadows wet, you have a comprehensive, usable palette that has everything you need to make an eye look. But just to finish these out, we're at the pink row, which is, like I said, with that highlight shade. And then with the browns, it's really obvious. Those versus those. You can tell they're the same colors, but it just brings out so much in them. So here again, we have the shadows that are dry. And that is all of them. Now if I show you the wet, even though they're in the wrong order, sorry about that, you can see how much more vibrant they are, how much truer to color they are. And you can start to get a feel for some looks. Isn't that incredible? I have never had eyeshadows that looked so much better when wet than dry. Just again to compare. This is dry. I mean, even that pink looks completely different wet. but those are, again, wet. I think they're just absolutely beautiful that way. So I think using the Urban Decay Spectrum Palette with Max Fix Plus or with water, just wet, is the way to use this palette. And with that said, I do feel that you can consider this a usable palette in and of itself. And so what was once a negative opinion of the Spectrum palette has become positive, because when I first swatched these out like this and I was trying to use them, I'm like, I don't know about this. But then, bam! And you can see it really brings out the jewel tonesiness of them, and it lightens up the lighter colors, it darkens up the darker colors, it brings out the metallic and the glitter, and it's just beautiful. It's beautiful on the eye. So that is my review and swatching of the Urban Decay Spectrum palette. Again, with the packaging, a lot of people take issue with it. I think it's pretty. I think you slap a rubber band on there, you're good to go. Easy fix. The only thing I wish they had done was to make this attached, not so much for purposes of the lid falling off, but just so that I had a mirror that propped up so I could use this like that. But otherwise, I would have to say I've changed my mind completely on this palette. At first, I really was hesitant to do a review because I did not like this. It did not meet my expectations whatsoever, but then when I thought, well, I'll try them wet, see what I get, I found that this is an absolute winner. And considering that there are 15 full-size shadows in this box, and that is the price of less than 3 Urban Decay full-size eyeshadows, I think this is a bargain. I also think it's pretty neat that there are 11 out of 15 shades in here which are not in the Urban Decay permanent collection. So they are exclusive to this palette or previous palettes. So I'm really excited by that. I think if you can play around with this and see what you like, I would recommend picking it up. I think $55 is a pretty good deal. I would like to know what you guys think if you have picked this up, or if you haven't, what your thoughts are on the dry versus wet, and what your thoughts are on the shade range, on the packaging itself. I know there's been a lot of hype about this palette for quite a few months now since its original release, but I really want to hear from you guys. And if you have any other requests for reviews on palettes or reviews on any other makeup items, please leave them below. I do hope you enjoyed this review and swatching. It's just so pretty, I can't stand it. So if you have not yet subscribed, please do not forget to subscribe, because I do have this guide to give away. So make sure you subscribe. I really want to give back to my subscribers who have been there, and I know there are people out there I haven't reached yet, so I'm trying to reach to you. I'm reaching to you. Take my hand. Win a palette. Win some nice makeup. So please subscribe. Please leave your comments below. Give me another big old thumbs up. And stay tuned if you're interested in seeing my use of the Spectrum palette wet. And as always, thank you for watching, as well as for your time and support. And I really hope you are all having a happy and healthy day wherever you are in the world. And I will see you very soon. Bye.